whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space and Jeff Bezos, go, never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Boom! Come on, girlfriend. There we go. I think you can hear me now. Sorry about the technical challenges. And I'm going to have to do something else, but I'm going to bring the two ladies up first. Again, let's do this again. Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care and also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And through that collaboration, I've been able to reach out directly or indirectly to over 75,000 fathers around the world this year. And I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative. It is a not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, drink, and travel. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, magnet for miracles, and solution for someone's problem. And let's bring up the main ladies, Saturday night ladies, Jill Jones and Aisha. Hey, how we doing?
Good.
What's been going on? I'm going to jump out just for a second. So you ladies, I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Well, my Phoenix Mercury won the semifinals.
Oh,
so
good.
They are headed to the finals. Thank God. Especially for this that block and clutch by Brittany Griner last night was awesome. So my girls are going to the finals. Yes.
I actually watched a bit of that game. Diana Taurasi she's feisty.
I know.
What? Man, she don't play. She doesn't play. I mean,
it was a nail biter the whole time because there were like ups and downs, and then they were behind at one point by like 10, 12 points
in the third quarter.
Yeah, and then they won by 3 points.
Wow. That's great. Wow. Sounds good.
Jill, what's been going on in your world?
Nothing. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I was just sort of taking that symposium and sort of event this whole week from like the 4th to it'll go until tomorrow. The wisdom of trauma healing sort of event with so many wonderful speakers. Of course, it's a film that was being shown by Dr. Gabor Mate and his team and different other healers from all over the world. So that was that's been really eventful and really interesting for me. So, wonderful. That's what I've just been learning a lot about, just the human condition.
Wonderful. I'd like to shout out to the family: Cinnamon, Jen, Black Beauty, Chris. Oh, geez, all these people just jumping on. I'm telling you. And Chris Langford says, oh, yeah, Miss Taurasi does not play. She is, whoa, fire. Well, you know what? We're going to produce our own fire here tonight because we haven't been around for 2 weeks. So there is a lot to catch up on, family. So the ladies are ready to rock and roll tonight. And we didn't know what to start off with first, but I think this one is a good start off. Let's talk about HBCU funding falls from $45 billion to $2 billion under the latest Biden spending plan. Aisha, you went to an HBCU, so I want to hear you first on this.
Well, there goes Morris Brown again. I mean, it's an HBCU joke. I mean, that goes back from the 90s, but Morris Brown can never keep an endowment. And they finally just like got out the hole, and we're starting to thrive. And, you know, under the last funding appropriation, and now $2 billion. You're talking over 136 schools. I'm worried that my degree might not be worth anything either, because, you know, we had some problems and had to sell some really priceless art to build up the endowment. You know, the ones that, you know, typically get the most money end up being like Howard and Hampton and Spelman and Morehouse, the ones that are really well known. But like I said, 130 plus schools having to share $2 billion. And HBCUs, you know, produce the most Black PhDs, you know, most Black students who go on to get PhDs than any other schools. And to be treated like they're not as important as other schools. I mean, these are land grant institutions. So you would think that, you know, a lot of them are owed federal money. A lot of them are owed federal money. A lot of them have really historic, the land itself has really historic backgrounds. Like, you know, some of them have properties that used to be along the Underground Railroad. I know, you know, part of Fisk's property used to be a slave auctioning block at one point. And so it's very sacred land. And to not even think that the students are worth more than $2 billion, you know, divide that by the tens of thousands of students that attend these schools, and it's really shameful.
Any comments, Jill, on that one?
I mean, I don't really know enough about it, to be honest. I mean, on the surface, it looks pretty bad. I had heard that there was a lot of infighting with all of the groups in the Democratic Party about this expenditure and where it's going. But then as time went on, now they're saying that there's an extra 30 billion somewhere floating around in the mix. I'm not quite sure of what's happening yet. I think that I'm learning from this process that you have a choice to either react from, you know, the little snippet in the headline and whatever, and the little articles that are captured. And because our FCC is not doing their job, I've now gotten to the point where I just hold off for a minute before I'm tweeting or before I go ballistic, because I have to do so much research to figure out who wrote it, where's it coming from, is there more to this story? I mean, it's like I'm in school my own damn self, you know, when I see these things. So I'm not really sure where it stands at the moment. I think I'd like to see. I don't think that it's going to be completely cut, because if this is what really happens, I think that it puts the Biden administration at an odds with the people that put him in office. And I think that somewhere there will be some measure to try to fix that. But at this point, we can't even get our own other stuff passed in the Build Back Better plan. And you have cuts for over 100 million programs. Just that was one request by Kirsten Sinema inside that bill. So whatever this is about, like I said, I just don't know enough. I think it's horrific if that's what's going to go down. But I also feel that we're really standing on a precipice of some new things and new people moving into the placements, of those roles, even at the HBCUs, all over the board. I think there's just new, younger, fresh blood coming in, and everybody's just sort of picking out who's who and what's what. But yeah, because Trump didn't, if Trump was going to release it when he made it,
Well,
he should have
that's the
done
thing that they found out was that Trump never released the funds. He only said
never
he was
did.
going to do X amount of dollars to make it look good, but he never released the
Right.
funds at all. And so I'm wondering if this $2 billion part comes from the last fiscal year budget that was for this upcoming year. I'm hoping that this is something that Kamala Harris actually really pushes for as one of her projects for the budget, because she is an HBCU graduate.
Right.
It doesn't look good on her watch.
It really doesn't. And she's an active HBCU graduate. She's not one of those HBCU graduates like myself who doesn't always respond to the alumni donation things. I do at times, but there are times that I don't always. But because it feels like they come like every 2 weeks. That's the dire strait the HBCUs are in.
But you need to blame Joe Manchin and Sinema for this, because they're the ones who want the cut. I mean, it's in the Build Back Better plan, 45
I think
billion.
too, though, it also is the Republicans, and they're trying to they're offering anything to get it passed.
So Aisha, I want to dig a little bit deeper with you on this. Mm-hmm. Why do HBCUs always seem to have funding challenges?
Well, one, because they have to keep up with the tuition that in order to survive. Okay, they can't the scholarships that they offer, they don't offer minority scholarships except to actual minority students attending. So those would be students of other races, not Black students.
Okay.
So those scholarships are available. Okay, one. But they have to still pay a staff in the salary, a regular staff in salary wage, so that they'll want to come and teach there.
Okay.
The donations that they get back from their graduates is also from their alumni is also a very big thing. It's also very challenging for alumni who takes on a lot of debt to attend these schools through loans and things like that. So you're still paying for your education 20 years later, but you want to still give money to your school,
sure,
which proves to be a challenge. And one of the other things too is that I have never done the full research. I did some preliminary research where a lot of them are also state institutions. A lot of them are state schools. So are states giving money, allocating money to these schools? Not only are they state schools, but they're state schools in the South. Okay.
Yep.
And got to remember, state schools in the South that came through Jim Crow and all of that. One of their early purposes, their early funding came from the Freedmen's Act, which was cut short during Reconstruction, and that was to initially help freed slaves to learn how to read and learn trades. Most HBCUs came through that way. They started as schools under the Freedmen's Act, what they call "quote unquote" normal schools, to give reading, writing lessons up to a high school education, and then they flipped over to becoming university or college. And so at that point, when the Freedmen's Act, when they ended Reconstruction prematurely and withdrew the funding, a lot of the schools had to rely on their own laurels to find funding elsewhere. Like for Fisk University, which I'm an alumni of, we had the Fisk Jubilee Singers who went around the world to sing for like the Queen of England and all these other dignitaries to raise money to bring back to the school so that the school wouldn't close. And this was in the late 1800s. So they've always relied on their own ways of raising money. They've had really good donors, people who have left things to the schools, like valuable pieces of art, and just have volunteered to build buildings. You've had Black celebrities come back and build buildings, and spend money there. So it has been more of a legacy of getting back rather than just getting money from the government.
Okay.
I think they also don't know if they're going to do it. Is it a direct allocation of money, or is it going to be via grant programs that people will be able to access this money? One of the claims has been that you can't really say it's a cut for some money that you never really had. So that's the interesting thing here. It's 45, but that was 45 billion inside the bill was inclusive of other types of minority funding in different sectors. So I think what everybody must be arguing about, and I mean, let's be honest, they'll cut Black folk stuff in a second. But with some of the younger new women or people of color, with a lot of the newer women fighting back, like the Prayano or all these different people, different congresswomen and senators, we're seeing a real shift, and I don't think that they are really trying to allow these types of things to just flip like that, just because the old regime does this typically. I think the reason there's a little bit of a roadblock is because we have several women in these key positions in our Congress for the independent Democrats and the Democrat progressive ones, that they're actually really showing us their fight and their skills. So I'm not really worried. It is a delay, but they're going balls out. And otherwise, this probably somebody would have given in to Joe Manchin. Somebody would have given in to Kyrsten Sinema. We've got women who are saying, hell no, we won't go. And, Cori Bush, they are like, no. And they are cluing us in all the way if you follow them. And they are letting you know what's happening. So, yeah, I mean, these women are working above and beyond, I feel, to expose what's really going on.
Okay, so before we leave this conversation piece, what's it been 10, 11 months since Mr. Biden got elected as president? After this announcement, what do you think Black Americans are thinking about his administration so far?
The typical things they would, because the majority of people in this country stay uninformed, and it's knee-jerk reactions. And they put themselves all in a fit, like, we don't matter, oh, this is that, oh my God, this is just what we thought was going to happen. And, this is politics. And in order to survive just the emotional upheaval of it, you either, a couple things, you got to get up off your behinds and do something and stay active with your council people and local people and representatives. And because this is just a typical response, they're not going to understand. But now we need everybody else to translate it, to go out there and be like, calm down. It will work itself out. We just have to fight back. And you put the pressure on. You can't just allow people to bitch and moan without looking at them and saying, so do something about it. We've got to stop that.
Yeah, I think that because we have another 3 years, this will be something that will be forgotten about by the time the next election comes around. I think that the next budget, I mean, this one will be forgotten about because there will be a fight over next year's budget as well. There will be a fight over every year's budget until 2023, because hopefully we will have the right people in Congress and in the Senate to really, do something.
Okay.
I mean, don't forget, we're still trying to have this discussion about university being free to people and having access to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I myself, if I'm standing and kind of juggling something, if it's kind of like getting new car insurance, it's like, if I know I'm going to sell the car in about 6 months, why am I going to buy the whole plan for the year? For me, that's just like, because if that's my goal, like those discussions need to be taking place at the same time. Like, how are we orchestrating this and how are we doing this? And who are the key players in those divisions? So perhaps that's a consideration, but I don't know. That's just my thought.
All right. Well, we'll see how this one is not going to go away. And I know a lot of Black Americans are going to keeping a watch on this one. So let's move on to our next conversation topic. 45 and Biden clash over executive privilege for the Capitol riot, set stage for a potential court battle. Really? Them battling in court? I would have never figured.
This isn't a battle. Trump is just dumb. He didn't know. He didn't know that because he didn't care to know any of the tenets of his job and what the limitations were, and that the little the laws and the privileges were with the office of the president, not the person who is being president for life. They're with the office of the president. So when you as a little human being leave the job, they stay with the office, not with you.
Right.
This fool thinks he has executive privilege for
life. Yeah, exactly. And the only life he needs is the one sitting behind some bars.
So, Jill, anything else you want to say on this conversation topic?
I agree with Aisha. It's just ludicrous, just another bit of lunacy that cuts through the day, and you're just like, for real? Like, for real? This is what this is, it's beyond me that I see actual people at MSNBC or CNN or Fox even talking about it. He thinks that no one, even though he's been advising his bullies, his friends, not to show up for the subpoena hearings, the subpoenas they've gotten for Congress, he is all in the mix on all that. So that's what all this is so tied to. And he really wants people to, stay at home. And sad to say, the only people that are going to go away is that little Allie Alexander, the little minions, who
Mark Meadows.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Mark Meadows. I just think that everybody who is brokety broke, no joke, sucker for a day, insurrectionists, they're going to pay somehow, some way. But Trump, oh man, he is a cockroach. Literally, I believe that his mother was dressed up and they put a wig on a big ass cockroach, and his daddy too. I'm telling you, they're space creatures. They're from. I'm being too mean to space. I don't know where the hell they came from. They're not. He is going to get away with all of it, and that everybody for themselves, if they want to keep going down with that boat and that ship, my biggest thing would be to address that. I don't think they should be in federal prison. I think they shouldn't, give them the cushy life. But the poor people and regular people will not face that. Trust me, they're not. And what needs to happen is, they need to throw them in jail for not showing up for these hearings. And if they don't do it, if Congress does not do this, or what's his name again? Merrick Garland?
Yeah.
who is like not present.
Right. He's ghosted us. I keep saying, if he doesn't do anything, then it'll happen again and again and again.
Okay. Well, Chris, Chris is saying, yes, Aisha, dumb as a box of rocks. We all know he can't hit the floor with his hat. He will still be babbling the same ridiculous BS from jail. Hopefully Letitia James is going to get something done with the SDNY cases. Tick tock, tick tock.
I'm not sure about Letitia James. I just want to say her energy seems weird. I honestly don't put your eggs in that basket, because now that Cuomo's gone, there's a little bit of shifting, and I just don't know what the hell is going on.
Well, mind you, she does have some high profile cases. She still has to deal with R. Kelly too. So
yeah, wow. but that should still be I'm sorry, that shouldn't really take precedence over a coup in the nation.
Yeah.
If she's putting R. Kelly shit before the coup, then there's a problem. Because how many people knew that this man was doing this for so long, and now they're all pretending that they didn't?
Yeah, but remember, there were many times we counted her down. We counted her. People have not
the
me.
The reason nobody cared was not because me. They were black
people have
women.
Counted her out.
They were black.
But she's always come back with something, because she had some stuff there in the back pocket that had to be verified.
I don't know.
All right,
I'll see.
Black Beauty saying it will be interesting to see if our select committee will go ahead and use arrest powers as well. We'll see exactly what our DOJ Merrick Garland will or won't do. We will all know soon enough.
Well, Elie Mystal said this on MSNBC yesterday. He said that the Congress should have at 11:59 had the criminal contempt papers ready, and that at 12:01 filed them.
Right.
And had Merrick Garland pick them up, because and Merrick Garland by 12:02 should have picked them up, because that's how you move swiftly.
And if Merrick Garland hadn't done it, then I think that by 12:03 Merrick Garland should be fired.
Because that's how you move swiftly. Because if they're talking about criminal contempt, not civil, so that even more so, that's like pick you up, take you to jail. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so that's how they should have handled it. But they say that the congressional contempt, even if it's criminal, never moves that quickly, whether Republicans or Democrats are doing it.
I'm just tired of their excuses. Like I said, I'm tired of them. Do something different, out of the box. Take your own ass over there and get the damn papers. Maybe that's not how it's been done, but the old okie doke, it's just not good enough. It's not acceptable.
Okay.
The rule of law, though, how it is that the Department of Justice has to arrest. So here's the thing. Take the papers over, but it's like, Merrick Garland, are you going to arrest? And if not, Merrick Garland does he want the job or not? Because it appears to me that he doesn't want it as
a Republican.
As he wanted to be a Supreme Court justice.
Exactly. I agree. I think this was the wrong job for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because he certainly isn't that. Who was the one who took out the mobster in Chicago? He's no Elliot Ness, okay? Let's just say that. It's like, he's not doing anything. It's really lackluster. It really, really is.
Okay.
He's slowing everything down to the rate of watching oatmeal come out of a pan.
But look, it's almost like he's like, you know what? This is payback for you all not fighting for me.
But I think they did what they can. This is payback to an allegiance, and an old school allegiance that even they've all had. Mueller, all of them.
But they did have options. They could have taken the Senate to court. They did have options. They just didn't push any of them because they were almost on their way out too.
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Well, let's cinema sing. 45 still has a lot of support here in Florida this week. Have seen 3 vehicles with new flag says F Biden. So sad. Chris is saying, yes, Elie Mystal was so right. And Black Beauty is saying, spot on, Aisha.
Sure.
Let's what do you think on a scale of 1 to 10? Is anyone from the former 45 administration ever going to get charged? Or even
Realistically,
yes.
No. You know why? Because people there in DC want to forget it as soon as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They're going to find one as the poster child and the scapegoat. One.
I
But
think that person's going to be Mark Meadows, and you know why? Because Mark Meadows used to be in the House. They're going to let one person that they can get that was a politician and then went into that administration and let them know, this is what can happen.
Yeah, but he better do some hard time like chain gang shit before anybody really thinks it's really going to change.
It ain't going to happen.
No, it's not. Everything is done so diplomatically now and underhanded, and it's just a little too posh for me.
The person that you really want to get time to show people is Steve Bannon. But Steve Bannon, this is where you ask, where's Mary Garland? Because Steve Bannon could automatically go to jail with these damn contempt charges. Because remember, Steve Bannon is out of jail when he really shouldn't be.
What did Chris call him before? The drunk bag, alcohol bag.
Yeah, he called him
like
a drunk something bag.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Chris is watching live, so I'm sure he'll put it in the comments to refresh our minds, because I know that Joe couldn't stop laughing for the rest of the program after that. So Black Beauty is saying here, starting to look like Manchin, Sinema, and Garland are hanging out on a mega yacht on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
maybe MAGA yacht.
Yeah, MAGA yacht. Don't forget that booze bag.
Booze bag, yes.
See, now, Chris, you've messed Jill up for the rest of the conversation. Now
I just see his face is like, it's a booze bag. Ouch. Terrible.
I never thought I'd see a person who has pores bigger.
Oh, Lord, no.
Steve Bannon's pores, it's like, oh my gosh. You know what? You can squeeze his
He doesn't have a girlfriend.
Alcohol would come out of it.
He doesn't have a woman for sure, because, it'd be like, hey, baby, use these little strips. Because it's true. It's
little strips. Oh my gosh. You have to get the big ones. You have to get something as big as like one of those, those thermo patches.
True.
His pores are so big, you could squeeze his cheek and get a drink, fill up a glass.
I mean, we can't forget that Manchin, it came out also last week that, he makes like $5 million a year from that coal company that he set up and he gave to his son. So we know where their priorities are going.
He definitely doesn't want the climate crisis to end.
And the climate crisis, he can't, because they're his number one donors. His donors are the fossil fuel industry, number one. That's where all his money comes from. He would not be in office in his state if it wasn't for them. And also, he's kind of embarrassing, because remember that ExxonMobil guy who was the whistleblower said that he's always the first one to line up for his little money. Yeah.
I think Joe Manchin's a drunk too.
He's sort of,
Look, if you went through all the drunks in Congress, fill up the drunk tank in DC.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Lindsey Graham, he's a drunk too. He just looks pathetic.
Put it this way, I've never met a politician that doesn't drink.
Yeah.
Oh, Black Beauty, LMZ.
Most of my associates are Southern.
Not to change subject, but Mike Pompeo had the audacity to be telling people about parents with their kids and the schools and all this stuff this past week. And that he something about handouts or something. And I'm like, yo, man, didn't he drink like a whole bottle of whiskey that was given to him as a gift from another country? But it's typically, you're not supposed to accept that kind of a gift.
Yeah, you're not.
And they could never locate this, I don't know,
Brazilian,
this $50,000.
Yeah, it was
really
$1,000 of
bottle
alcohol.
Of alcohol that put it beyond the level of like reason. It was like a bribe, okay? And every corporation I've worked at, they have things like gift things you can take, things you can't, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Right.
But they're all above it all. And, I don't know what he did with the glass bottle, but maybe he's sitting on it because he certainly drank the liquor. I don't know what's wrong with Pompeo. Maybe it's up his butt.
Okay. So Black Beauty. So Chris, you are responsible for railroading this conversation tonight.
Booze
So
bags.
Black Beauty LMBO fam. And Chris comes back. What self-respecting woman would be seen with that?
Rummy.
Those wide open, humongous
Horrible.
boards, double
Terrible.
hug.
Ugh. Exactly. He's not self-respecting.
No, it's
And then
not.
hashtag it's so
Gin-soaked
God.
sods. That's another one I like. Gin-soaked sods.
oh my
But yeah, they all
gosh.
are. It's really
Oh,
terrible. Manchin has an affliction too.
Chris.
see,
Chris.
Bannon's skin doesn't open up like he drinks like clear
Oh,
liquor. It opens up
God.
like he drinks dark liquor.
Oh, gee, Chris.
He
I'm
just
gonna
eats
move
coal
on.
for dinner.
All
Yeah.
right, let's flip on to another conversation, Doc, before I have to go to the washroom and dry
Whiskey
my
and coal. You're right, Jill.
eyes.
Whiskey and coal. Yeah.
Next conversation. Let's get a little serious here. And Jill brought this one up, and we were doing some communications on the back channel here. Why is America building a nation of bullies? Jill, your lead on this.
Jim Acosta had a whole show about it, and it was really fascinating. Because, like out here in Beverly Hills, we had a bunch of people stalking the parents, taking their kids to school and yelling at them and, saying you're raping our kids and with the masks. And now because California, it will be mandated once these vaccines are approved, which they think for a little bit 12 or from 8 to 12 or something in 2 weeks, November, maybe 3 weeks, they're thinking. So anyway, the kids are in the masks and these Beverly Hills women and men are going bananas. And I was just looking at them and they're predators because I was specifically watching who they were picking out in the crowd to go after, like one mother in particular, and she lost it. But this is, some would call them bullies, but I've maybe started calling them predators because they sort of, first of all, a few of the people in there were actors, out of work actors who were protesting, which means there's money coming from somewhere. Somebody's paying these people to do that. They don't even have kids, number 3. And which makes everything so disingenuous. And, that's what I want to get across to people. How disingenuous what we're seeing online from somebody's stories, from their conversations. Everything has this bend to it, a slant, and you have to be able to discern it. It's all entertainment, but these people are depicting something as if, and they're getting paid to spread misinformation and for me, that's predatory, and they're spreading lies. And I believe that the microphones need to be switched back on, insight into absolutely every single person who was there. Yeah, you have freedom of speech. But I want to know also, were you paid for this? What were you doing? Because they're terrorizing kids and creating trauma for them that will live with them for the rest of their lives. And part of it is we are adults and we are supposed to set the course of how to behave through a serious situation. A child doesn't need to see their parents unraveling or the adults around them turning to poop in a crisis. It's really, it will have a lasting effect for generations. And trauma will stay with people and they operate from that. No parent wants to go home and their kid is going to be like, you're killing me or whatever, kids, manipulating them or whatever based upon. We're raising a very manipulative group of people in this world. We're not addressing our situation. So for me, it's something about the attention. And these people, maybe because I took the trauma workshop, they find identity in this group. They find themselves, they find friends, they find everything that they didn't have before. I mean, when did we not have vaccinations to take our kids to school? When did that happen? It's absolutely ridiculous. And, but I also know that if I was taking my little kid to school, I would not be the parent that anybody would target. Not at all. Not unless they wanted a whole mouthful of teeth going down their throat.
Well, before we get to Aisha, Jill, Christy saying, absolutely agree. And it's happening here too.
They did a segment. They did a couple of segments on MSNBC during the week, during their prime time, about how this kind of bullying was what Roger Ailes founded Fox News on, was that he wanted to create a network that 50 years, they said over 50 years ago, he wanted to create a network that did that. And he was able to do that 25 years ago, that hammered away this message. And a lot of these people, and that they wanted to create action out of what they said, whether it was true or not. And so you see a direct link to that, because all those parents go out, the ones who are parents and even the ones who aren't, it is all coordinated. So you saw all those people watch Tucker the Creature, right, talk about this whole you know what, this is what I want you to do. When you see a parent and their masked kid, you go out and you say this and this and this to them. And then the next day you see footage of those people going out in your area, Jill, and they're harassing people. And you see them in other areas and they're harassing people. And they're harassing parents with their kids, and their kids are masked up. And it is predatory behavior. It's like, they say criminals don't reform in jail. They just become better criminals because they're surrounded.
These people didn't even live in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
That's what's so even crazier.
Exactly. That because there are no boundaries as far as where this Fox News is.
You're right. And they've all taken a note out of there. And, it's like, even when you look at things like, TMZ and all that stuff, and people casually walk up and hi.
Well, guess what? TMZ is now owned by Fox News.
But it's a phone call.
We're going to see something different too.
We're going to be at this restaurant. Meet us there. And then everybody gets to pretend like, oh my gosh, it's such bullshit. It's bullshit, because what we have here is capitalism tied into the almighty dollar of how the hell can I make money with my little life, and what can I sell out, and what is not something that really means all that much to me. I don't really care as long as I get mine, as long as I get my bag, as long as I get my coins. We got to stop that, because you either end up with people that end up just not believing anything, which we do have a group of those people that don't know how it works. But when you see a news crew or somebody there waiting for the stuff to jump off, you need to know that's organized, because I could go out here with 25 people tomorrow somewhere and nobody would show up. There wouldn't be a news crew. There wouldn't be anybody already there. You know why? Because it wasn't planned and paid for. It's called, we have to get a hold of what our capitalism and the greed and the love of money, how it's all playing into selling out your country and selling everybody out. It's like, I don't care as long as I get mine. That was a very 80s belief system, and it needs to stop, because this is the result of it. Trump's people are more focused on kids wearing masks as opposed to really looking at the policies that the Republican Party espouses, which is, we don't give a shit about anybody. We are trying to not raise the debt ceiling so that 11 million people who have 11 million companies that have contracts with the American government and all of their employees will suffer. We don't care about that. We just want the Democrats to look bad. What if you're raising a child? What kind of philosophy would you say to them? That's beyond a timeout. That is beyond. And why would you ever condone something like that? You would probably say, well, you've got to do the greater good for the collective here. And you may not agree with everything on X, Y, and Z, but fight in a different way, fight more productively. But no, this is all like It's either all or nothing. And there's something wrong with anybody who will stand by the Republican Party at this point in life. There's nothing redeemable about it or the people in the party.
Well, that's the problem, is that they're a party without a plan. So they chose populism, and they decided to go full head on into it and be like, look, we know we don't have any plans for anything that's coming in the future. We have nothing. So all we can do is go after the cultural issues because we don't intend to change our demographics. We like it over here because guess what? We came over here in the early 60s because we wanted to keep our party very homogeneous. So we're not going to adapt no matter what the changes are. We're not going to be the big tent party. We don't want to. We're not going to expand. We don't want to. And any kind of public policy that would have to come in the future for a very changing demographic is going to have to include the people we don't want it to include. We want to be white Christian male, period. Heterosexual male, period. And we want to stand over here in this corner. And we are standing here, arms crossed. We refuse to change. And for that reason, any policy is not going to be good for us. So we'll just jump on these issues and dig our heels in, because there is no moving forward. There's no moving backward. We obviously aren't going to be able to go back, but we can create the nostalgia as if it were going to go back to that. And we'll just stay in this one place.
Okay.
And hope that it holds.
Let's catch up with some comments. Chris says, I see what the women I work with go through with their young children as it relates to the bullying issue. It is heartbreaking and angering. In my humble opinion, because of his no holds barred being effing bully mouth, 45 is totally to blame for this current sad situation with bullying. Completely predatory.
Totally.
Aisha, Chris goes, Aisha, my office is in Guilford. You can imagine what it's like there.
I don't go to Guilford, but I do know what it's like there.
There you go. Black Beauty, absolutely correct, Jill. Unfortunately, 45's movement is destroying our country from the inside out. The trauma, hatred, and disruptive disrespect of our democracy is appalling, to say the least. And Real Django saying, a nation of bullies and mean-spirited people.
Well, you know, I mean, here's the other side of it too, is that did it really start with Trump? I mean, this is the nation that did have chattel slavery. It didn't really start with Trump. The thing is that there were people who were willing to condone it. When did we become a nation that allowed our presidents to act so out of pocket and not be embarrassed and be like, yeah, I like him because he acts like a damn idiot? I mean,
I think we did. We've done it a few times. You know, we've glamorized cheating on his wife, number one. He tried to, here's the thing. The thing is, at least he tried to keep it a secret. No, I get that. No, he didn't have to try. He had a team of people keeping that a secret from people, because I can tell you there were newspaper people who knew, but they weren't going to ever. There was a little bit of fear about, oh my God, if I write that he's having an affair, blah, 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 this is it. They had
J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover had a handle on that because he wanted to be the one to blow that up.
It's true, but we've also we've glamorized a lot of people that have not really. I mean, not saying that JFK was, a bad guy. I'm not saying that at all. These are their personal lives, and I don't really care if somebody's having their affairs. But by the same token, for a country like American people who have who believe in Mickey Mouse and Disney and all that, that's all American, right? And their fantasy. Mm-hmm. The minute that changed for them, that they don't believe anything anymore. You've got people who were hoodwinked their whole lives here. The American dream. Didn't they not know that, people of color aren't getting the American dream, or when they couldn't get it, then they take it out on the new Chinese immigrants that moved in, or because they were succeeding, or the new Arab immigrants who would go and open up stores. This country is covetous. It looks at other people and it covets. It teaches how to covet, how to be upset, ashamed. I don't have this. I don't have shit. I'm going to I'll steal, I'll rob, I'll do whatever. I'm this. It's the country of excuses. And the people are 100% miserable. Miserable. And now they're angry and miserable because they feel, and it's not just only white people. It's a lot of colors involved in this. There's a lot of entitlement. And we weren't paying attention to the rest of the world. Even as children, we weren't really taught other things culturally.
Okay.
Just my thoughts.
Chris says 45 gave John Q public license to be and create this culture of bullying.
He did, but it's the internet was doing it too.
Yeah, but I think what
NBC helped him. Let's be honest, that horrible TV show he had, The Apprentice.
Yeah. That was one of the things I think that was a shame for NBC, and why MSNBC, they were allowed to go so hard because it was like, we helped create the monster. We gave the monster a platform for 8 years to be this ugly. But I think what made it worse was when Fox turned his ugliness and his bitterness, particularly towards Barack Obama, after Barack Obama said those things at the press corps, into news, turning his bitterness towards people who didn't like him into an actual news angle, and making his bullying across the board, across media platforms, news.
I think that reality TV helped that along. Real Housewives of New York. I think that's when you really got a taste of white women and their newfangled heir to the throne of, let me just say what's on my mind. We really saw that with the Bethany's and the this and the that. And then it was an era, and, everything feeds into the stew here. Now the stew is just nasty. It's just gross. But that all played into it. But what it really revealed is that people were excited by hatred and anger and rage, just like when they used to do public hangings or guillotine, like kill somebody with a guillotine, they would calculate that within 9 months, there were more births of children. People would go home and actually have sex. They were aroused by really dark forces, which is something about human nature and the trauma that they live, and people wanting to see other people hurting, people wanting to say what they feel and finding a way to do it. Now, there was no boundary line. People were lauding Nene Leakes and everybody else everybody, Bethany, whatever, her bad behavior. She had as a $1 billion company. But how you get there.
And remember how we got there, because
there's no decency.
Because of the strike, the writers'
I've often said, give me one family in this country that is wealthy, that, find one for me that didn't get their money illegally. Just one. It's not true. It doesn't exist. With capitalism, and and God forbid we talk about capitalism, because then we're a communist, as if anybody sees the blurred lines on that. Really, honestly, anyone who's studied both sees how blurred the lines have actually become, because wealth in this country is not from hard work. I'm going to slave away every damn day. It's not from that. It's from inherited wealth. And that's the truth.
Let me catch up, because the comments are piling up here. So Real Django says it's a representation of what's on sports, movie, and TV. Violence, yelling, and crowds of people shaking their fists. The Maury Povich show, Morton Downey Jr. show, the Jerry Springer show. Yeah. Chris says The Real Housewives, the real train wrecks, replacent with booze bags and rummies.
Absolutely.
Real Django says reality TV, the news showing cell phone videos of teens fighting.
Right.
Black Beauty saying, seems to me that 45 homed in on people's fears, frustrations, and hidden fantasies of what they envision America to be. And as a result, for this population of our society, there's no longer shame. Real Django also says the last 10 to 20 years have been sick.
True.
And Black Beauty's Django's agreeing with Black Beauty. So yeah, it ain't. And it's funny because before we got on live, I was telling Jill today, I was speaking with a gentleman from my community who wants to move from Chicago to Toronto. He says he just can't take America anymore.
It's true.
You know, he can't take America. He's just like, and Chris is also agreeing with Black Beauty. So everyone is in unison here. Let's move on to our next conversation piece. Federal unemployment benefits were cut off in September. And I think this past week, America just had its worst job support of 2021.
Yeah.
What's happening? The talk was I was here once the benefits cut off, everyone be rushing back to work.
They said that some people have problems also getting, finding childcare, healthcare, all of these things.
And
but
then, yeah,
let's not forget a lot of people. What is it? What did we say, Dr. Vibe? It's the great escape or
migration.
No, but what's happening is that the great resignation. Many people between the ages of 30 and 45 have decided not to go back to their jobs like that. They want a better quality of life. They invested in stocks. They're playing the stock market just like the rich cronies in this country. And now everybody's just going to drag this country to hell and just get whatever they can get, because you can't convince people who actually are educated with their degrees and whatever, and they're bouncing. They're just bouncing, and they're doing remote work, and they're working all over the United States, outside of the country, taking jobs with foreign countries. You can work remotely and now live in the freaking Seychelles if you want, and have a company that you work for in England. And, so that's going to be an interesting situation in the next 10 or 20 years, and see how they start trying to lock down on that, because everybody knows that all America is based upon is paying your taxes. And when you leave the country for a certain amount of time, you could shapeshift all that for a long time and pocket all that money if you're smart, if you count properly. But this is what rock stars do that. They calculate when they're coming in and do tours. Some of them would have their tours in certain manner, so that their time in a certain country wouldn't accumulate to their taxes. I'm talking big ones that really know how all that works. And it can never be the same cycle. It's not the same formula. You've got to shift it up. So, but now people who are, millennials and Gen Xers are like, well, hey, why not? And people want better lifestyle, better ways to live.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aisha.
The other part of it too is that it takes about a month to get, a job, to get through the interview process and all of that. And so it's like, what do they think? People were like, oh, now that McDonald's wants to pay people $30 plus a bonus to get people to come back, that people who spent a year working remotely want to go back to being inside with people. It's like, no, hello. No. If I can't work from home, I don't want to work. That's what.
But I don't know why they don't do what Japan does. Like, you go into a restaurant and you don't even need a waiter. I mean, I don't want all the waiters or wait staff to not, be able to make their money. Don't get me wrong. But at a McDonald's, they can just have it on a little conveyor belt. It shows up. I mean, you order sushi like that sometimes there in certain places. You go, shoot, as soon as you order it, it comes. And, you just take it. Granted, we lose a lot of our social connection with each other, but, you're right, Aisha. Nobody wants to go there, because let's not forget that McDonald's and all the fast food chains used to kind of like not give somebody 40-hour work week. They do 30, 35. So you'd essentially be part-time. And they played games. But you can only dick somebody around so long when they're like, well, no, you got to come correct. And even when you do, finally, these are relationships. I keep telling everybody, companies, they want it to be a person. Welcome to the club of I hate my ex, okay? Or, you know, screw you, pay me my money. You know, that is what that's about, is that you have a relationship with your employees, and they will be like, no, done. I've had enough of the abuse. I won't do this in a toxic environment. You throw me in a corral full of people that are crazy. No, why should they do that? And they can sit online and they're making their money. I mean, and that is why, you know, that will ultimately hit a wall. I mean, how many people do you just like open up your freaking Instagram and it's so loud and abrasive, everybody's singing, dancing, this, that, boom, advertising, this, that. It's a lot. And I really hope that we get back to the point of some kind of authenticity and having real conversations, because it's gone so far. Just, you have to protect your energy every damn day. Every day.
Let me just cut in here. Chris is saying it is amazing the degree to which restaurants, clothing stores, all manner of retail businesses are short staffed here. Mind blowing for real. A lot of millennials sadly do want to make a pile of money, spend their day on the cell phones playing games, and work minimal time. I have seen that firsthand multiple times. Black Beauty saying, not a lot of Americans want to run out to go to work amongst a bunch of lunatics. Working remotely from home is just fine with me, as well as lots of Americans. Bottom line, USA just ain't what it was. And then Jen is saying, Jill's so true. I used to work in the fast food industry, and they will cut your hours if they can, at least back then. You know, that's a lot still here. And I think this has been a game changer for the restaurant industry, because for many years, not saying all restaurants, but a lot of restaurants got by on minimal pay and minimal benefits.
Right. Yeah. I worked bartending ages ago, and the check, like, I don't even know what minimum wage was, $10 or something, $9 or something. Maybe it was a lot longer. But my check, they were not required to pay me that minimum wage hourly. Not all of them. There were some, no. It would be like, because they had some really weird setup with labor department or whatever, and you got tips. So they would calculate all that in. It's always to their benefit, you know?
But that's capitalism.
That's capitalism. It's always to their benefit to exploit you. And I think that people feel exploited. It's like, you know, you kind of look at them sideways, and it's like, why don't people have to put how much a job is paying before you freaking apply for it, like it used to be? It used to say $90,000, bloop-de-bloop-de-bloop. Don't put somebody through some kind of like this whole jumping through hoops. And, you know, now we do have a law that's going to make it where if you apply for a job that here in California will exist, that it will be transparent. The only catch is you've got to know that exists, that you have to write and find out what is the pay. And I hope they put it online so you don't have to wait for somebody in the city to send you a letter back to say, well, that position, the last person made 105 and now they're offering you 98 or whatever. So that is something that I really feel has to be more transparent. And also stop wasting people's time with these 10 interviews going up the food chain. It's a waste of time, and it's rude. It's really rude. You pretty much know, you know, it's not like you're not marrying me. You either want to fucking hire me or you don't.
Walmart does that with their with their hours. They will pay people, and they'll work people, what is it, up to 34 and a half
Right.
just
To the
so they
half,
don't,
right?
because once they get them at 35, it's like they have to start giving them all the benefits and everything, because that's
Right. And then
considered
they had to
full
go and
time.
apply for Obamacare or the
Right.
Affordable Care
So
Act. And I'm sorry, that was
they'll
wrong.
be like, we'll work you 34 and a half hours.
And that
So we
was a
won't have to pay
Republican
that.
idea.
And that's one of the reasons that they hire so many old, elderly people,
Mhm.
that they can work for 40 hours because they can get Medicare.
If you all do not get this in your head, I will never, ever step foot in a Walmart. Ever. I have hated that company for so long. I hate them, and I will never give them my money. Maybe if I'm broken down somewhere in the desert and the only shop with water is Walmart. But many people know how much I cringe. I had to go back maybe a year ago to return something for a friend who bought something there, and she asked me to, and she wasn't well, so I did it. But that was brutal. I almost kept the shit myself and just said, fuck it, I just won't, But I got her money back. But I do not like it. I've never liked what they've stood for. And what's so bad is that these corporations do like the slap and stroke method. They are like domestic abusers. It's like on one hand, they're working an 80-year-old to death because they've got Medicare, whatever, right? You said it, Aisha. And then on the other hand, then they're giving to some really nice charity down the block. And, oh, it's so nice. Oh, don't we look good? Come on. That's like somebody who beats your behind and then comes back. And what does that mean? It's like, where are your principles as a human being just to say, you know what? I don't like that you do this. And I think that's not cool. And that should be more important. And their charity, let's also be honest, they get a tax break for the little money that they give away. They're not giving away nothing. And
aren't they
You're just giving away
employer in the country?
Yeah. I mean, really. So, but people don't wise up. You tell them, and then there they are. These are the same people that will be upset about the HBCUs. These are the same people that just read a headline and get all mad and put lips pushed out of shape. These are the same people that expect something but aren't willing to make the sacrifice for the change to happen. You've got to do it. You have to sacrifice it.
And Walmart's, you got to give the company this. They know where to put a store, because you can go into some of these towns that won't have anything else but a Walmart. It is the meet and greet spot. It is the club spot. It is the grocery store. It is the department store. It is everything.
It's the hub for that town.
It's the hub for the city. It's like if there was no that they go into cities that if there was no Walmart, the city would just pretty much be closing in the next 5 years.
Well, then that's just too bad, because, half the cities in America are, fossils. They're unoccupied. They don't even have hospitals, but they'll have a Walmart. I mean, the reality here is I'll just shop online. I'll find mom and pops. It doesn't matter. I'll find what I need. And I think that is what's happening, Dr. Vibe. I think that is what's happening. If you're a store owner and you have a retail store, you're going to work your behind off, because nobody's going to want to be standing up there getting varicose veins and standing there for hours and getting paid, $9 or $7 an hour. Wake up, Manchin, all you old cooters out there talking about, what things used to be and what they're not. That is not this kind of party anymore. This is not it. And it should have never happened, because you are asking people to pay for their own enslavement.
Well, Chris is saying, true, Jill, I worked as a bartender and server going through school back in the late 70s, early 80s. Waiting tables, I was paid $2.25 per hour.
Right, it's something like that.
Tending bar was $5 per hour plus tips.
It's very tricky.
Real Django, restaurants in Georgia have been suffering and in bad shape. Not opening because of low staff numbers, and then other places try to do business as usual with low staff. He says, I feel very bad for them. Restaurant.
That's the one area that has has not had to comply with minimum wage is the restaurant industry. It's like they can still offer people $3 and be like, but you get tips.
There are real restaurants, like the really upscale ones now, like the Jose Andre, or those people that, Eric Ripar, these Le Bernardin and all those, but they're also legitimate, like, career waiters. I mean, it's very, very different than, I wasn't trying to be a career waiter, but those people pull down some money. And that's legitimate. There's service. It's blah, blah, blah. And that was, those kind of general managers who run those kind of restaurants don't have time to be playing a lot of games. It's very set up pretty straight, even down to the food costs per every plate that's going out.
Right.
So
it's like a minimum per table cost.
Yeah. It's just different. I think that it's like you get what you pay for. And also another scary thing for me was realizing how many people were so upset about wearing a mask. All I kept thinking about, germaphobe that I am, was like, if they don't want to wear a mask, then what the hell are they doing in the bathroom? I just have a very big problem now. I look at people now and go, did they wash their hands and they're handling my food? It freaks me out. We didn't have E. coli outbreaks like we did years before. Last year was like spiffy. My hands look like hell, but boy, were they clean. I mean, it's just, these are people with so much aggression and things going on. And also, stop trying to hire people just through another thing, the computer, sifting people out. There's plenty of people out there that want to work and are great employees and have the personality for that. They need to go back to those days, because as I'd mentioned, my stepfather was an executive, and he did a lot of his own hiring with, implementing rules with not his own hiring, like with the staff who was doing it, ways to get to know people. There were many times I think some people didn't have a shot, and he would talk to them and get to know them, direct them to the right part in the company where they would be a benefit, but they don't do that anymore because they weed everybody down to a number, and they need to stop that shit, because that is another big problem. You are not going to attract those little smug little degree toting nepotistic little brats that your friend sends to be an intern for the summer and convince them to take your entry-level money. You're not going to do that anymore, because they're off doing something else and they'll be inheriting mommy and daddy's money, so we don't want to do that anymore. They had people that they look up to. It's got to stop. They need to start going back to old hiring practices. Who would be a benefit for our company? And a computer is not going to be able to figure that out, because they're losing people with these stupid companies, Indeed, JobSure, all those. They need to put legislation through on that, because the amount of spam that I get once I submit a lot of these jobs aren't even real. It's companies that are just getting emails so that then they can spam you forever. They're making money, because in this country, people make money exploiting people. Even when somebody innocently is applying for a freaking job in this country, they're getting raped. Talk about raping them. I mean, that's really what it is, stealing your identity, and there's nothing monitoring it, nothing. So yeah, I hope everybody just wakes up one day in this America and just goes, enough. And I think people are essentially saying it. Fix it, because they're not even addressing where people are getting fleeced daily. They just are not even close.
Black Beauty is saying, to Aisha's point, Walmart has the nail shop, eyebrows wax, Subway, etc. Fortunately, they know how to market. They know how to do it.
Well, everybody's a marketer now. I mean, I have friends that are like, I'm a brand. I'm like, oh, damn. It is really crazy. You've got like 10-year-olds. I'm branding myself. I worked in advertising. This is the craziest time to be alive watching this. It is crazy. Everybody's on.
Well,
all the damn time.
Mittens did say, corporations are people. The moment he said that, people are like, oh, I'm a corporation.
Exactly. And then the other thing is like, then when your career is just slipping a little bit, well, we started a charity organization for the indigenous tribes of the Navajo. And then you're like going, wow, that's great. And you give everything. And then it's like all hell is broken loose in the Navajo Nation, all these nations during the pandemic. And was that celebrity there? Nope. They must have been with Merrick Garland.
Stop it. The real Jangle says, after 9/11, the job I had as a sous chef at the Saks Fifth Avenue Cafe, New York, and they had 6 to 8 months of bad business, but things picked up with things going now through. It's very dismal for restaurants. Absolutely. It's very bad for many restaurants.
People aren't going into the restaurants.
Yeah.
The way that they used to, and sit there and then, lavish there for hours in that self-contained space where the air is not circulating.
So Cinema's saying, Jill, I wish that happens. Computer applications are here to stay.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing. People know that they are here to stay, which is why they're doing advertising and whoring their lives on YouTube. I've seen better marketers on YouTube with no degrees killing it better than some of the biggest ad guys that I've ever seen in the world. So what happens is now they're just hunting for people. And then when you're hunting for the talent, then they're paying. So don't think they're not paying. They are just going to go after. And then unfortunately, that's how people are getting jobs. That's why you have people spending more time online, because you're selling yourself, you're selling a product. And it's like, hey, I got a better shot at really creating something than sitting behind a desk working for someone else. The thing that they're missing is none of the companies need to understand leadership or something. They're not offering anything that people see themselves. They made everybody disposable, right? This is what they get. There's no loyalty.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go over our final conversation piece tonight. And this happened while we were away. The R. Kelly guilty verdict was nearly 30 years in the making. Who wants to talk about
verdict?
Uh-oh, there's more?
He's got more cases coming up. What are you talking about? This is just the first one.
Right.
Ladies' thoughts on R. Kelly's?
It should have been happened. It should have been happened. I mean, this grown man married a 15-year-old. Should have been happened.
Do you think he's gonna write out some other people?
I mean, he can, but it's not going to stop him from getting the 418 years that he's going to get behind bars. I mean, R. Kelly's going to die, and they're going to let his corpse go to prison. R. Kelly his bones will be behind bars. Okay? R. Kelly's never getting out of jail. It doesn't matter who he tells on.
No, I don't think he's going to get out, and I'm not defending him in any way. I think it's just going to get more legs and more of a life, these stories, because you're going to hear everybody now coming out and being an expert on what they knew and what they didn't say and what they did see and what they know. And that's the kind of twisted part. There will be people that will exploit the pain that a lot of people went through in this. I think that he definitely is a trauma survivor, and he wasn't surviving very well. And I think that, there's a war going on for your spirit when you're a young woman and when you live in poverty. That's traumatic enough. So there were some things that parents did that they can't forgive themselves for in this situation. It's a very dark story, but it also harkens back to what I said about this country. Nobody was checking. Many times he'd been reported, law enforcement knew, but because they were young Black girls, they didn't follow up. And all these things are being revealed. I told you all, Saturn is going to go and put an enema through this country for at least 12 more years. as it does its transition.
Christy is saying it. Yeah, Christy says it's sad how many will talk now who said nothing then.
Well, here's the thing. I will say this: R. Kelly will likely talk, but I bet you all the people that he'll pick out that he's going to talk about are no longer here, so the information can't be verified or it can't be disproved, and it's like he's going to, because remember, R. Kelly worked with a lot of different artists.
Yes.
And he wrote a lot of songs for a lot of different artists.
Yes.
And a lot of those artists that he did are not here. So he's going to be able to say, well, I know this about so-and-so and this person and that person, and that person can't defend themselves.
Yeah, but they shouldn't have to. They don't need to defend themselves. Let me just say something that I feel like, maybe people wanted to talk. I believe there were people who tried to. I also know that what used to exist in this business is you couldn't scrounge up an attorney or a law enforcement when somebody had that much power in an industry where other executives and the whole coven protects itself. It's in anything. It's in oil. It's in everything. You start picking off the top people, they make sure you don't have a place to go to. And what's so sad is this vigilant news media that we have these days didn't want the stories.
But when I think about this R. Kelly and R. Kelly now saying that he'll talk, well, R. Kelly's been in jail for 2-3 years now. The same people that he could talk about were still dead 2-3 years ago.
But we don't really know. He just said it was a rapper and a really big singer.
I can name them knowing who R. Kelly worked with.
Who?
They're dead. Biggie, Michael Jackson. They're dead. And they were dead 2-3 years ago when he went to jail. And the reason I say those two are because, like I said, I know who R. Kelly worked with. Because I was fans of their music. And
but I also think
again,
that
he could be talking about people. He could be talking about people who are alive.
This is a culture in the entertainment business that's been going on since vaudeville, and I do believe that it needs a discussion. So who better than the predator in chief, I guess, right now, because they've all done it, and men and women have overlooked it, and it's been in existence. We're seeing it now, where you see people pimping their kids out online. They're doing it. That to me is wrong. You're stealing from your child their own privacy. Like, why do you do that? That's, to me, I think it's like, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness, we know, but even them, it's like they didn't even, you weren't baptized until you were old enough to make the decision if you wanted to do, if that's what you wanted to adopt. Where's the protection of your children? Putting them all over online, when they're underage, when they're minors.
That's some of the questions that I have with some of these parents when they were interviewing them. It's like the parents, I took my daughter to the concert. I let him take my daughter up on stage. Like, if Amaya was like 13, 14, and her favorite singer wanted to take her up on stage, I'll be like, am I coming? Because you're not taking her by yourself.
There's just a lot of things where we are still really incredibly naive and incredibly greedy. It's greed. It's like everybody will do it. I mean, R. Kelly was totally molested himself.
Right.
Horrible. I don't know. I mean, he obviously was a grown-ass person who knew how to make those decisions. But the worst scenario is when an industry enables the action because, they of the finances. I mean, of making a lot of money, and they've sold out a lot of people and exploited a lot of people. So his being incarcerated for me is not just R. Kelly as a whole. For me, it's an industry. It speaks on on predators within the business, and he will serve that time for everyone that came before, and maybe it'll change the ones who come after. But we definitely, we still exploit young people in this business. The music business is full of girls. By the time they're 25, they're too old. They exploit them at, 18, 17. They're not even out of school. And people still continue. Oh, she's empowered. She's doing her own thing. 17. Get the hell out of here. Oh, she's empowered. Okay, they are pimping young girls with other people's songs. These are not people writing their own songs. They've done it, and we all sit back here and support it. They make these kids sign contracts, and they are stuck in them. And God only knows what else they are leveraged with. And it exists, and it always has. We're not talking everybody's a Svengali,
Right.
Give me a break. It's crazy, and it's wrong. And the more radio and all of them, and all the little favors and all the little hands you have to shake, sweaty hands and all of that, they're disgusting.
And it's like,
and Instagram is doing the same. You want to be a model? These women are not models to me. I've met models. This is like, sell yourself, sell your body. Yeah. The pornification of your life is like, oh my God. We do it with everything. And even animals. Animal exploitation is happening all the time. I don't know what you did to that dog or cat before they got on there and put that monkey on a motorcycle. I really don't know. And maybe it was abusive. It's gone too far. And I think now we should be demanding a little bit more checks and balances and more transparency in some of this bullshit that we find entertaining.
I mean, with R. Kelly, think about what it took for him to even be arrested. Okay. It took for a Me Too movement. It took for a documentary. He had already kidnapped 2 women. Okay. He had them in his custody. It was the transportation across state lines of 2 women who had been reported as being kidnapped. Okay. That's what it took to get the arrests started in some of these states. That's why he has multi-state charges, yeah, because of they're calling it trafficking.
Of course, but sometimes who's paid for those flights? The music company. I mean, and here we are today. I heard the other day Universal Music went on the stock exchange in Amsterdam the other day. I mean, go figure. Universal. And it's like, this is where it's going. And they don't care, and they're not being held accountable. They knew. When those guys show up, a promoter or whoever, they know when the girl is young. They know. Oh, yeah. These are old dudes who were like doing it in the 70s, and they were groupies, and they glamorize that, and then they demonize that. And I'm not trying to bring up anybody's dirt. It was a very different time. However, it all plays into how we arrived here.
And here's the other thing too, is that
nobody wants to be seen with an old bitch. They want these young girls. When was the last time you saw a video where somebody is dating an older woman?
Yeah.
Seriously.
There's
so much ageism.
Yeah.
So who are these kids' icons? What rapper showed up with a woman who was 35 or 40, like the reverse of men and women? Anybody?
50 Cent and Vivica. That was a while ago, though.
Well,
but I will tell you this.
The same one who wanted Donald Trump to win next.
Right. I will tell you this, though. They are going to make sure that R. Kelly gets the maximum of everything to make it, like you said, to make an example of the industry, because they're going to put R. Kelly in a position where he will not even have a pocket full of dust when this is over. Okay. He had to sell he had to sell whatever
But
rights
it's still
to his
going
music.
on. It's
He
like
has
when you
no
look
money.
at, but it's still going on. There's some real identity issues in the music business. It's like the one thing, okay, granted, I was in a video, 2 women, me and Lisa, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knew how the fantasy of the lesbian fantasy of 2 women, right? Then I'm watching the VMAs or whatever was going on. And then there's 2 girls that really went out off pocket. You know, they were all into it. Neither one of them are, you know, bi or that I know of. And it's the pornification of
entertainment.
Even, and it's the pornification of even a lifestyle for lesbian women and people who are married and have regular lives. It's exploiting that. It becomes, ooh, and it's pandering to the men, you know, to men again. It's like, for fuck's sake, why can't we just fix this? What is this? There's marketing, there's pandering, and then there's exploitation. And don't you dare pass it off as female empowerment, because it's not. It is not. It's called, I want to make money and put it in my bank, and I know what my audience seems to like. I've segmented them. I've broken out all the parts, and I know that watching women recreate sex acts on stage makes you buy records or makes you think all sorts of stuff. That's the oldest trick in the book. It is not empowerment. It is not empowerment. And after somebody who's been there and been exploited that way, it is not empowerment.
All right. That is our final conversation piece for tonight. See what happens when we're not here for 2 weeks? I'm telling you. Well, as always, ladies, I want to say huge thank you for taking time to share with us tonight. I can't remember, someone that, I think it may have been Jen, asked Aisha if you're feeling better.
Oh, I am.
Good. Fantastic. Good. That's another conversation. They call it State of Things with Aisha and Jill. And as usual, they rock the house tonight. And Christy White also adds here, and very much plays into rape culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We really need to have an honest conversation about that.
Excellent.
We really do.
Yep. And Chris says, as always, thank you, Dr. Vibe, Jill, and Aisha. Great conversations. All the best to you. Have a great week. Absolutely. We will make sure we do that. As always, before we let them leave, we give them the opportunity, if they're willing, because they're always on Twitter, to share their contact information. Jill Jones first.
Hi. I'm at Jill D. Jones at Twitter. And I'm around.
There we go. All right. Aisha K.
At Aisha Staggers at Twitter.
Wonderful. And for myself, my Twitter is at drvibeshow.com, but I strongly suggest you go to the website, the drvibeshow.com, where you catch replays of these conversations and many other conversations. Also want to encourage everybody, you can catch replays of State of Things with Aisha and Jill on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel and Facebook channel, and also on my website. And if you are comfortable, please subscribe to our YouTube page so you'll get notified when we're doing these conversations, when I'm hosting other epic conversations. Would appreciate it, and it's not taken for granted. So as always, before we leave, I'd like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And you know what? I've got to do a roll call. Everyone who chimed in tonight. There were a pile of people, so let's see if I can shout you out quick. Christy, Cinnamon, Real Django, Black Beauty, Chris, Jen. And if I don't mention your name, it's my head, not my heart, or you didn't comment. Because I don't have as much. We didn't even have a chance to talk about the Facebook outage. We'll get to that because I know Jill has, I'm sure she has something to say about the Facebook outage. We didn't get to it this time. We'll get to it next time because, hey, I'm not as powerful as Facebook. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. Remember, I have to finish off what I usually do. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. All things being equal, catch us next Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time for Staggers State of Things. One of the best shows online. I'm gone.